Evening, Alison. Move that out of the way. Just give it a few minutes for some of the others to join in. Evening, Nicole. We all enjoying this warmer weather? Oh, it's supposed to get really hot by weekend. I can actually hear the birds outside today, which is quite nice. So I'll give it another minute or two. So tonight we're going to put the full book together. Now it's a very different binding. Hi Helen. Oh, yeah, we've got a little bit of wind, but not too much tonight. So rather than our hinge bindings that we've had previously, this is quite a bit different. It's actually held together with the ribbon. So I'll show you how to do that, and then oops, it will be more decorating and what's the words, prettying it up. There is another word for it, but I honestly can't remember. So we're going to start with, now before we do anything, we need to decorate the inside pages. So that needs to be do it there. So about 8 inches by 5 3/4. So I can either use some of the 12 by 12 or some of the 8 by 8. Oops. So let me get the papers out. Now, oops, in the 12 by 12, I want to keep these because we'll use these as tags and things after. And again, I want to keep these to cut out. So that gives us those two. Oops. Right, I'm going to use that one. So we need it to be, just let me double check that, I thought it was 5.5. Yeah, 5.5 by 8 inches. So if I cut this down to 8 inches, put that over to one side. So I'm going to cut it at 5.5. And I'll keep hold of the offcut just for a minute or two because I might need it later. So I've cut it and I'm going to pop them both like that. And because I've distressed or I've inked the edges, I'm going to carry on with that. So I'm going to place, right, I've actually got 4 bottles of glue on the go now because I keep putting them somewhere safe and losing them. So I'm going to pop some glue on the back. And line that up. Try and get it straight. Now, I also need to put a piece of paper in the middle just to cover that up. To cover up where the spine and hinges are going to be. So not quite wide enough. Okay. Not tall enough. So I'm going to use the florals, which is on the back of the small tags. So again, I need to cut that down to a 5.5. Just going to overlap it a little bit. So I'm going to cut it down to 6 inches. Now, because I'm going to slide this slightly underneath you don't need to ink the sides, but I would always ink the top and bottom. So plenty of glue on there. Preferably not all over your fingers, but you never know. Two, three, four. And make sure that's burnished down really well. And then again, I'm going to stick this on the inside of the back cover. Actually, let me just take that off because I've missed a really important step out. So before we stick the inside bits on, we need, where we made these crosses on the first week when we put our covers together. So if you remember, that's a 1-inch piece of card, piece of grey board. So we marked 1/2 inch, so it was dead centre, and then 1.5 inches in from the top and from the bottom. Now, to make these holes, I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile Big Bite. You can also use a standard Crop-A-Dile, or you could use any hole punch. I'm sure as crafters you've got a number of different ways of punching holes in your stash. So I'm gonna see if I can do it this way. Line it up so that the punch piece is above the cross, and then punch that down to get your hole. And again, there is no other way other than lining it up by eye and punch that hole out. And then we're going to do exactly the same with the other side. Line it up, punch it out, and then spin it round and punch it out. So move that out the way for now. So I'm going to stick this back underneath. And make sure that covers all your hinges. Pop some more glue on there, and again burnish that down. Then if we get our other papers for the back, pop your glue on, and again line that up and burnish that down. Find my lid, then don't mess my glue up. Then I'm just going to, where the creases are, use a large ball tool and just push down in the middle of them there. It'll help it to, bend. And it'll just make life a little bit easier for you when you've done that. Now I'm going to leave that for a minute or two, just for that glue to stick well. So I'm going to pop that, up there. So if you've been following along, you may have finished yours. I actually went away at weekend after class last week. I packed my bags and got up at silly o'clock on Thursday morning. Drove down to Birmingham to meet up with a friend. We then drove down we were going down to Bristol for a scrappy weekend. But we thought, well, Stonehenge isn't far from Bristol, so we'll go there for the afternoon, which seemed like a really good idea at the time. Looking back, I don't know if it was. So then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were scrapping all day. Got back late-ish on Sunday. Monday was spent recovering and unpacking my craft bag, putting stuff away that I'd taken with me. And then yesterday we were out house hunting for the day. So yeah, I'm still not really caught up, so I haven't finished my decorating, but I will. So get your pages in the order that you want them. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. You can use different papers, you can use put your pages in different orders. But what we need to do now is we need to punch the holes in the pages so that they fit inside the cover. Now, if you remember, before we punched the holes here before. Now, even though we've got Evening Beth, we've got paper on the front, we can still see on the back where those holes are. So this time what we're going to do is get our hole punch, line the hole up underneath, and just punch out the paper on the other side. So it's really hard to show you this because I can only do it, it will only work up and down. So move all them out of the way. So now we've got our holes showing through. The easiest way to now punch your pages is to get some of your cardstock. Now I'm just going to mark this and cut it down to the same size as my covers. And then we know this is 1 inch. So I'm going to cut this down to 1 inch. So I'm going to lie that down. I'm going to see if I can, if I do it this way. So line it up top and bottom, and then just using a pencil, go around your holes. Okay, so you now know that those holes are at exactly the same height as the holes on your covers. So I'm just going to again line that up. Oops. So now we've got our pages. We need to line this up on here, making sure it's equal top and bottom. So again, what we need to do is holding that carefully, keeping it straight, go through and again line it up with the hole that's already made and punch that out. So you've got your holes in your page. Hi Lane. Oh, I hope you're not up too early. And then you do that on all the other pages. Now sometimes it's easier to line your pages up get them straight. And again, and then I would keep the first page and then put that one down. Again, line your pages up together. Make sure they don't slip, otherwise you'll have wonky pages. It does take a little bit of time, but it is worth taking the time and getting them right. Again, we're just going to line them up. Push down part way so you can see where the punch bit is going. And then you can get them. So if you, I don't know if it can, you get them lined up like that and then just punch it out. And there you go. So I'm just going to finish off the last one. Again, line that up. Slide it underneath. Press it halfway. Make sure it's in the hole. And then you've got all your holes punched out. So get them back in order. Now I'm going to go up, missed a bit, so I need to do that one as well. Not sure why that one was under my arm. Just going to line it up. Now, in your kit, if you had a kit from me, you would have had a bag of ribbons, oops, so you'd have had a bag of ribbons like that and some sparkly epoxy circles. So to start this off, we need to go to the back of your book, and with the large, I think it's about 1 inch wide ribbon, you need to find your center point. And then what you need to do is separate them out, and you need to push each side of the ribbon through the hole. Now I find using a blunt pencil usually works, but that's not working. My pencil's far too blunt. So if you push that through like that, flip it over, pull it, and then hold one side down and then gently pull the other one through from the back. And if you just turn it to make sure the shiny side's on the outside. And then we're going to do exactly the same. Sometimes it's easier with a wide ribbon and a smaller hole if you fold your ribbon into thirds and then push that through, and again just gently pull from the underneath, and then you can just tweak it slightly so that you've got the shiny side on the outside. Then again, just hold them up, make sure they are roughly the same size. Now from there, can't get this open, you will have in your packet a small tiny bulldog clip, and you will also have either pink or clear, and these are called pony beads. I have no idea why, but that's what they're called. So just take one, and then if you roll your ribbon and then twist the end, you'll be able to poke that through the bead. So push that to the bottom and do exactly the same with the one on this side. If you twist it all together and then poke that through, you now have a bead on the top and on the bottom. So working from your back page, you're going to take your, this is frayed, so I'm just going to see if I can I'm just going to try and seal it so it doesn't fray quite as much. Some ribbons fray more than others. So I'm going to use, this is a We Are Memory Keepers ribbon cutter. It's quite a nifty little thing. This one is battery operated. I do believe they now have one, or they're bringing out one that is USB charged, so you just plug it into your computer. And what happens, in here there is a wire that heats up. So if you get your ribbon, trap it between those two black places and then just hold it down. The heat on the wire hasn't heated up yet. Isn't quite hot enough, so just wait for that to heat up a little bit more. But this then needs to be threaded through the hole on, oops, your back page, and again with the same at the other end of your page. And then again we're going to see if these scissors will work any better. Or what's happening to thread the ribbon onto another bead. I know some people seal the end of the ribbon with a lighter or a naked flame of some description. Yeah, I don't kind of trust myself. Naked flames and a craft room full of paper does not make a good combination. Let's see if this is heated up yet. Yeah. So again, we're just going to line that across. Hold it while it seals. Depending on the type of ribbon and the thickness of the ribbon and what it's made from, depends how long it does. It will do fairly decent thickness grosgrain ribbon. I think I might need, oh, it's still working. So if I line that like that, might need charging up again, or it might need new batteries in it if I'm honest. And just hold it, like I say, because it's the shiny material, it does take a bit longer to seal. It has some form of coating on the back. No, it's not heating up properly. Might need a new battery in it. So we need another bead. thread that through, push that down, and then we get our next page. So again, we're just gonna push that through, oops, pull that through. So it is just a case of alternating between adding a bead and then adding a page. So again, I'm just gonna roll that up. And thread the bead on. I find it easy when you're doing this. Go fairly slowly, but when you're doing it, make sure you keep your ribbons one to the top and one to the bottom. I've seen it happen where that's not done and you can end up with getting them crossed and all sorts of things like that. So and line your book up. Oops. Make sure that's straight. Drop the beads. If you only drop one bead the whole while you're doing this, you're doing really well. And then pop your page in. Line it up. And just make sure the ribbon's pulled through evenly on both sides. Pop your page on. Another bead. Pop that down. And then your first page. And then again, our bead. Oops. Then we fold our cover up, just gently pushing it down. It will fold quite nicely, and then we're going to push the ribbon through the hole at the front of the page on both sides, and then just pull that over, and I'm going to tidy the ends up just because yeah, it's run out of battery, that's why it wasn't working. Just, if you use very sharp scissors, it helps when you're cutting. It also helps to cut in a straight line when you're cutting ribbon. So once your book's lined up, I'm going to tie it in a bow. And the easiest way I find of doing it on a book like this is to make a loop, go round and push it through, and then once you've got your loop, you can play about making them level, making the tails longer, the bows smaller. It's entirely up to you. So that is your book bound, for want of a better word. Now if you just hold it about an inch in, it will bend, so that when you open it, they are quite stiff to start with, so it will open like this. Now with the kits, you've got a set of the die cuts and 2 of the packs of rub-ons. It's entirely up to you what you want to do to build your front cover up. But in your die cuts, move that out of the way, you get a large clock, you get floral pieces, that's a left and a right of the same thing, you get your title, you get your bird, a chair with a bird on the top, a table to go with the bird, oops, more roses, a pot of flowers, some phrases, more roses, some of the circular embellishments. There are some chipboard, they are quite a thick chipboard tags, and they actually have the holes. Okay, one of them has the hole punched out, the other one doesn't. I think that was a bit of an error. Again, not sure why one tag has the other one doesn't. You see, you've got 4 tags, you've got 2 of the circular elements, you've got a birdhouse, a butterfly, some more roses, and then you also get another butterfly and a selection of leaves and things like that to help you build your front cover up. Now, as well as all these, just move these out of the way, you also get two picket fences. Now, there is a left and a right to this, just because they've got a very straight edge on one side. Now, I use these on both the back cover like that, and I can find my ink. Hi Helen. Just go around the edges with your distress ink, or with your whichever ink you're using. And then what I did, I literally glued on the bottom of each one and just up the side. So if we glue along there and just on the bottom of each of the uprights of the fence, and glue that to the bottom corner of your inside cover, and just let the glue grab. Sometimes the chipboards are a little bit not exactly flat, and when that's the case, it does take a minute or two for the glue to set. Then what you can do, if you get your large sheet of the cutter parts, and then you can just trim them down. And then just trim all the white edges off. You can then use these now. You can either have the you do get 6 of them on your sheet, so what you could do, you can either use the bird facing upwards, or you can turn it over and use the plainer side, but you can just tuck them, making sure the glue's set. You can just tuck them behind the picket fences. Yeah, that one will go. So I'm going to use one of each. I'm going to tuck it behind there because it's glue. I don't want it sticking to the glue. So exactly the same on the front. Get the other picket fence. Ink the edges just so it pops off a little, and then again we're going to glue down the straight edge and just a little bit on the bottom of each of the uprights. And again, just going to line that up, hold that in place while the glue grabs. And again, you can either use the cutter part that way or that way. I'm just going to pop that one in. And again, trim these down. Oops. probably go back, and because I've inked all the rest of the book and pages, I would ink the edges of these as well. So again, you've got them, and it's your choice if you want to leave them. I'm going to pop that one in there as well. Now you can also use these in your pockets. You can put it on the front of there, so they can be used anywhere in the book. In your kits you will also have these two lots of rub-ons. Now the Stamperia rub-ons are really, really pretty, and they work really well. I think rub-ons have come a long way from what they were years ago. They weren't always the easiest things to use. So if I just go through, and I'm actually going to put so we've got a bird on a branch coming up here, which kind of reflects that coming down. So I'm going to open the rub-on packet. Now, because these are really quite sticky, it's better to keep your backing on the rub-ons until you are ready to use them, then it doesn't stick to anything else. I really should listen to my own advice, because I did that when I was doing something at weekend and took the backing off, and it stuck to the front of a packet of something else that I was using. Fortunately, it stuck to the front of the packet that was clear, so I can just cut round it and use it with something else. So keep your backing on. Now, lots of people use lots of things for putting rub-ons on. Now with this one, I want it to go across the pocket and the back page. So try and keep your fingers away. Hover where you want it, and then pop it down. I have quite an old basic grey rub-on tool that you can use, and you just lots of little circular movements even will get that working. If you don't have one of these, you can use a lolly stick. If you don't have lollies, or you don't say this, you can just use one of your ball tools, and again, little circular motions. Make sure you get it all adhering well, and then just take it from one end and just lift it with your finger, and you'll be able to see if anything's not quite rubbed off, like that rose hasn't quite. So if you just gently lift it, you can see that the rest of it so that's all come off, and there's nothing left on the back of the acetate. But you can then see, and I'm just going to get my sharp scissors, because I want to just run that down the edge of the pocket just to release that. So you've now got a rub-on that matches the one that's coming on from the top of the page. So again, That was a bit too busy to put a rub-on on. I've not done that one. Yeah, really behind with my decorating. This is the one I was looking for. So on this one, I want to use one of the words. I also want to use, there is a bird on here. So again, just cut that around. And you can then sit this bird on top of one of the flowers, although it looks a bit small for the flowers. So I'm going to use, from the other sheet of rub-ons, one of the words. I'm going to use Endless Love. So if you just curve your scissors around the words, pull your backing off, line it up, lots of circular motion. Just pop your nail under the edge, and if you just run your finger up underneath it, it will release, and if it doesn't, it will show you where it's not actually adhered properly, and you can go back over that's got one little piece that just will not. So again, just rub over it. Sometimes it changes colour as it sticks, and sometimes it just sticks without. And it is a bit of a distressed alphabet on that one. So again, once you've decorated it, you can put, like on this one, I'm going to use this border archway. So again, we just trim that off, and I'm actually going to use all of that with the chairs and the table at the bottom. So I'm going to peel the backing off. Be careful not to get your fingers on the rub-on. Decide where you want to place it. Get your embossing tool, your ball tool, rub over. All the way down, and then move across to the bird. Oh, excuse me. The table and the other chair. And then again, start at one side and just peel that off gently, and if you just rub your finger underneath it, it will show you if there is anywhere else that needs some more pressure. If you do it slowly, if anything's not quite stuck, you can just lay it back down And there we have a rub-on. Now, if you rub your finger over it, you can slightly tell that there's a rub-on there, but not a lot. So we've now got that sat down there. What I was going to do with the front page, I want to use that as my title. And I then want to use some of the roses. So, move the table out of the way and the chair. So I'm going to start with this big rose at the bottom, like that. And then we've got another 2 here. But that isn't going to lie flat because this one's like is raised up. So from the chipboard, the grey board that you use to make your covers, chop mine up into different pieces. I'm going to cut that down again. So if I put that underneath there, and stick that there, that then brings this side of it up to the same height as this with the 2 floral pieces. And then what else have we got? I'm going to use one of these smaller roses, and the leaf, the little stalk on it will just tuck in under there, and then you could layer that up on top, or you could put another one here. Quite like the idea of layering that up on top, and then maybe got a different butterfly. So this butterfly, it is only half a butterfly, so you can only see half of it. You can attach that to one of the flowers like that, and you then got your butterfly flowering in. What are these pieces made from? These. Good question, Helen. They are, well, if I look on the instructions, in the packet it says do not swallow. They're just die cuts. I think they are chipboard, but they've got a really nice coating on them. So they're white on the back, but they've got a really nice, not a shiny, well, a little bit of a shiny coating, but they've got a really nice feel to them. So I'm going to layer this up. So blob of glue, and I'm going to stick that. Just be careful that you don't have any pieces sticking over the edge of your cover. Certainly at the bottom, not so much at the side, but try not to let them come over, because if you do, you will find that it will flick off. When you try and stand it up, it's going to fall over because it's not level on the bottom. So if I just line that up and hold that in place. Oops. So with this one, I've just lifted up the smaller rose with some chipboard so that when I layer it over the top, it's going to be the same height. So again, we're just going to put some glue on the chipboard, grey board, and some glue on there. And I'm going to pop that, just line it, use your thumbs to make sure it doesn't come over the bottom. They are a bit special, Helen. They are really, really pretty, and quite chunky. So whilst that's glue setting, I can play about with where I want my placement. So I'm going to have that, tucking it behind, whoops, there. So again, pop your glue on the back and then just slide that into place there. And then I've also got these two little leaves which I could just tuck under there. So again, because we've got that bit raised up on the grey board from the cover, we can just tuck those underneath and hold them in place. So I know I've covered this bird up here. I'm going to put another rose there and then reinstate this bird to look at this bird. So I'm going to cut this down. Let's see which way round that goes. So if that goes in there, you need to trim a little bit extra off there. Pop your glue on the back. Oops. Tuck that in place. And just to make this one stand out a little bit more, I'm just going to go around the edges on this one and make sure you're putting it the right way up. So again, glue on the back. Make sure your rose is the right way up and it will just fit in there. And then I could use the butterfly, but I think I'm going to go with the bird. So again, we're just going to arrange him so he's stood on these flowers, looking up at his friend. And just hold that chipboard in place until the glue grabs. So with the title, which if anybody did French at school, you'd be able to tell me what it means. I was going to put it straight. Yeah, it just looks a bit wrong if it's not straight. So you put the title there. Again, we're just going to put our glue on the back. And line that up. Now I'm just going to put my hand underneath because the top, this piece of chipboard was a little bit curved. But once the glue has grabbed, that'll be okay. Now also you will get some little leaves. So I'm going to tuck that leaf in there and maybe another one up here. I'm going to tuck that small leaf in the corner. Like that. And just hold on to it. And then one of the bigger leaves, I'm going to put, oops, over here. So just work out where you've got a raised area that you can tuck your leaf underneath like that. I've got another small one. Yeah, that's it. That will just tuck under there, so it looks like the bird is sat on it. Just gonna snip so you've got your leaf behind your roses and your bird is sat at the top. So there you've got your front cover built up. So if I lift this up slightly, you should be able to see the 3-dimension on the front cover. And they have got a bit of a sheen to them, and it is built up. So you've then got the rest of your chipboard pieces, die cuts, to use wherever you feel like in your book. One of the ones I wanted to show you is, so on your front page you have your 2 opening pockets, flaps. If you got one of those and put it like that, or you could put it that way, and glued it to one side only, then that, as you open that, will allow you to then open this side. So it depends which way you want to do them, whether you want to stick them up or down. I think I prefer it that way, and the flowers are going up. Again, just glue it on one side. Oh, Helen. I may have one 8x8 paper pad left, but I need to check. So if you use it like that, once that's closed, that will keep your page closed. So if you remember last week, I showed you how to do with your envelope punch board to make your tabs even. So they will just slot inside the edge of the papers. So if I show you on this one with the black card, so inside the edge of the pages, where your page is, it will open like that. Slide your photo mat in, and you then have, it does, I will use all white with mine, but obviously with the black card you can see that it goes in, it just leaves you that bit to be able to grab hold of and pull out. And you will have made 5 of those. I forgot how many pages we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those to go in the edges of all 6 pages in the middle. Okay, so I think I've shown you everything. I will, with your large sheet of tags, let me just, if you just, I'll show you on this one. You just line them up and trim your tags down. I'll just do these, just line them up and trim them down. You can then, using your scissors, just round the corners off, or you can use a corner rounderer. And then again, just follow the line of the tag. You've got your leafy bit on the back. So if you follow the line of your tag, I didn't cut that quite close enough on that side. And then you can use your hole punch to punch a hole in the top. I then took my little bulldog clip . Now with your bulldog clips, in fact I'm going to show you on a slightly bigger one, it's very difficult to see there. If you squeeze those together, you'll find it will actually come out. And then take your ribbon, and I just folded it over to approximately about 4.5 inches double length, and trim that off. Then take a different piece of ribbon and again line that up so it's about the same length. So I did that with all the different ribbons. Now the leftover ribbon, all I did with these is pulled them all roughly the same length, folded them in half, threaded that through, and then popped it back on there. Then whilst it's laid flat in front of you, take some of the pink and white baker's twine, hold it in one hand, and then I just use the baker's twine and made a double knot. So that keeps the ribbon nicely together. Can't even tie a knot today. And then I left that hanging down as well. And then I just literally snip the end off there. And you can then adjust them. So if you've got one that's very long and one that isn't, you get hold of the shorter one and gently pull on it till they're all roughly the same length. If one's too long, you don't like it, trim it down, cut them off at an angle. So I've done all that, but now I've got to do it on my small one. So if I undo that, thread it through like that, take it off the big one. I should move that out of the way. Be able to slot one back in, squeeze them together and drop the other one. And then if you squeeze them together, put it over there, and then you make sure it's in the middle, you've got a gap to push them down. And there you have your ribbons hanging down from there. What you can also do with one of the chipboard tags, which I appear to have buried. I'll tidy up. If you had one of the chipboard tags from the die cuts, or even the birdhouse, you could punch a hole in the top, thread some of the twine through and have that hanging down. So if you did that, you could have it where your birdhouse is hanging down on the side like that as well. So is there anything anybody wants me to go over? Show you what I mean. If you double your twine over, push the loop through, pull it up, and then loop that through there. You can then loop that through your bulldog clip and then make a loop, tie a knot on there, and like I say, That's a bit too low down. Pull it a bit tighter. So then your tag would swing freely with your ribbons behind it. So I hope that all made sense to you. I would love to see some finished projects in the group when you've done. I will finish decorating this and put my photos in the group as well. Next week we will be starting the field notes folio, and it is live in the shop. It'll be tomorrow now when I've got a better light. That is finished. I will put pictures up in the group and do a video so you can see exactly what it is. Yeah, so you can then go through, and your tags that you've cut out, you can use some of your other ribbon and pop them in your pockets. You can also pop, that's your photo mat. You can also pop your cutter parts in, so you can pop them into your pockets. You can pop your tags into your pockets with your ribbon on. Endless possibilities for decoration. So I will leave it there for tonight. Like I say, when you finish, pop all your pictures up in group. Be brilliant to see them all, and I will do a live tomorrow with the walkthrough of the new folio. Yeah, and if I don't see you then, have a lovely weekend, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Goodbye.